What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is when did Britain and America stop hating each other, a short animated documentary. Now we've done a lot of reactions on the Revolutionary War and a bit about the Star Spangled Banner and stuff like that, and there's a lot of bad history between the US and the UK. A lot of reasons you want your independence. There's been a lot of history between which has been bad in the past, but fast forward to today and we're closest allies. We've got a special relationship is what it's called, and it is awesome. You guys are absolutely amazing. You've been amazing with me, and I hope I've repaid that and been amazing with you guys. I can only speak highly enough of you guys. But how did we get to this point? How did we get to a point where literally one side basically ruled the other and the other killed, and they both killed each other? I'm not blaming one side at all. Both sides killed each other to try and fight for independence. You won your independence, which is absolutely amazing. If you don't watch the channel, I'm not salty one bit that you got your independence. Like I've said many times before, the world would not be what it is today without that. So it's kind of like, it's a great thing that it's happened. But in context, you got one side fighting for freedom, you got one side not wanting to have freedom. How do you go from that hatred, from that fighting, to having a special relationship, if that makes sense? That's what I'm trying to get across. Now, we're going to learn this, hopefully, in this video. I am very intrigued. I hope you guys are intrigued as well. And potentially, you guys are going to learn something new. And I definitely am going to learn something new. And it'll just give a bit of insight on how we are such good allies and good friends, which is absolutely awesome. It is absolutely fantastic. If you're new around here, please hit that subscribe button. I would seriously appreciate it. Hit that like button as well. And I never normally ask for this, but if you want to share it with any friends or anyone like that, go for it. I'd really appreciate that as well, trying to grow the channel as much as possible. And hit that notification bell, because I tell you what, a lot of videos are going to be coming your way. Soccer's over, the Euros are over, a lot of videos are going to be coming your ways, guys. So make sure you hit that notification bell. And now, let's find out when Britain and America stopped hating each other.
It would be an understatement to say that Britain and the USA's relationship got off to a rocky start. In 1812, Britain and America were at war, but just over a century later, they were fighting shoulder to shoulder in World War I. Which obviously raises the question, when did Britain and America become allies? There had to be a point where both went from actively disliking each other to working alongside each other. Now,
and that's basically what I was trying to say before, but you just summed it up in 19 seconds and I probably spent a minute and a half saying it. There you go. That's what I meant to say. At what point?
Now, before continuing, it's important to note that even in the immediate aftermath of independence, America and Britain still had strong economic ties. This isn't to say that things were always great between the two, and there were some pretty major conflicts of interest in the years after the War of 1812 finished.
Not surprising.
The first, and perhaps the most obvious, was the Monroe Doctrine, established in 1823. This was where the United States, by threat of military intervention, declared an end to any new European colonial adventures in the Americas. And for Britain, this was potentially a problem because it had economic interests in South America. In reality, though, it wasn't too much of a problem at all, because in 1833 it landed a force on the Falkland Islands and America did nothing. In 1842, the US did warn Britain against interference in Hawaii, which Britain did heed because America's international power was certainly growing. And it was this fact that America was a rapidly growing great power whose interests could no longer be ignored, which would dominate Anglo-American relations for the following century. So the next major event which could have changed the Anglo-American dynamic was the American Civil War, which broke out in 1861. Britain had
Which again, I know it's going to tell us in a second, but I'm trying to give my knowledge on what I know. I know it's very little. I am learning from his reactions. But obviously, they stayed pretty neutral, Britain, at this point. I don't think Britain had slaves at this point. I may be incorrect, and I'm not saying that America's bad because I had them, because I know Britain did as well at some point, and I know that they were the massive traders of it as well. I'm not saying that before you attack me in the comments. But they were saying, no, we don't want slaves, and they also didn't want to get involved in the war. They didn't want to pick a side and stuff like that. I believe I'm right in saying that.
Had already abolished slavery at this point, and so you would think that it would have preferred the Union over the Confederacy. But you'd be wrong. Now, Britain had no great affection for the Confederacy in its slaveholding practices. Its preferential treatment was purely economic, mostly due to cotton imports. Britain did consider formally recognising the Confederacy, and Anglo-American relations were severely harmed by what's called the Trent Affair. This was where the US government seized a ship with Confederate diplomats headed for Britain, which to Britain looked like the USA telling it who it could and could not speak to. In the end, cooler heads prevailed and Britain didn't get involved, although it did construct a very powerful warship, the CSS Alabama, for the Confederacy. And after the Civil War was over, Britain paid compensation to the United States. Thus, only 50 years away from World War I, Britain and America still didn't really care much for each other. So what changed this? Well, relations actually started to improve during Britain's border dispute with Venezuela in 1895. This developed into somewhat of a crisis, and the US intervened and arbitrated, siding mostly with Britain. For Britain, America had conducted itself in a well-mannered fashion and given Britain most of what it had wanted. And
I like that, you know. We've had our differences in the past. We've now got a new task at hand. We've now got a new war, a new border issue. And you gave us respect. I love that. And I imagine, gave you respect back. I hope we did. I hope we're going to find out that. And that is how you start repairing the damages. It's awesome. Give each other respect. Be nice to each other. Yes, maybe the whole thing about being nice to each other goes out the window because they were fighting over a border and stuff like that with different countries and stuff. So maybe the niceness does go out the window. But from me to you, let's just be nice to each other.
And for America, by accepting American arbitration, Britain had yielded its right to influence South America.
Oh, awesome.
The other reason for Anglo-American rapprochement was simple: converging interests. America had emerged from its civil war a more centralised industrial power, and after its defeat of Spain in 1898, it possessed a global empire too. And for Britain, things were rapidly changing as well. Its empire and global position was being threatened by Russia and the newly formed Germany. Britain had long practiced a policy of isolationism with respect to the European powers, but since they too were industrialising, this had the potential to threaten Britain's position. Thus, her most natural ally seemed to be the United States, since it was half a world away and had its own sphere of influence. Plus, they spoke the same language and shared many values.
It was at the
turn of the 20th century under President Theodore Roosevelt that America and Britain really started to become friends, particularly with respect to one foreign policy stance. They didn't like Germany. This agreement allowed for Britain to move its fleet away from its Caribbean colonies, back to Britain to defend itself from Germany, while security in the Caribbean would fall to the US.
Well, again, it makes sense, doesn't it? Back in this time when World War I was happening, World War II, not too many countries like Germany, except for ones which sided from, obviously. So that's also a very nice. You've got a common interest, I guess. So we've got the respect in there, starting to patch things up. But so, you know, oh, you can just have this. We'll wield this. You can get in there if you want to South America and stuff like that. And it's just a bit more respect, a bit of give and take. And then they've got a common interest. It completes the cycle. We're learning. We are learning.
After the First World War broke out, Germany's actions, such as U-boat attacks on American shipping and the Zimmermann telegram, combined with the fact that if Britain and France lost the war, they wouldn't be able to pay their American loans back, assured US intervention
and
on
money
their
comes
side.
into it.
And from that point onwards, both the US and UK were largely in the same camps, barring a couple of mishaps here and there.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching, with extra thanks to these patrons you can see on screen for their continued support.
Well, that was absolutely rapid. I felt like we were only just getting into reaction. I know I talked loads in that as well. I just get excited to do one of these and I enjoy it. And Emo England lost yesterday. We're trying to get in a great mood. But yeah, the cash definitely helps as well. That what we were saying. We had the respect starting to come back in. Then we had a little give and take. And then a bit more give and take. And then a common interest. And then it was actually, we may have a common interest and we want to side with you. But if you don't survive, you can't pay us back. Or if you get absolutely bad, you can't. We want money. So we're going to side with you, if that makes sense. Kind of like the whole thing with like when billionaires get loaned huge amount of money and they blow it. The banks really don't have any other option than to give them more money to hope that they can become successful to pay the money back, if that makes sense. Yeah, they could cut their losses. But a lot of the time, they're like, okay, well, we're going to help you out again in the hope that then they can repay them. I hope that makes sense, but that definitely has happened in a few cases, which I know about. We're not going to get into them. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And now our relationship is absolutely awesome. Let me know in the comments if anything was missed out in there. It was a very brief and short overlook on it, but I really enjoyed it anyway, guys. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I started off quite bad this morning for me. England obviously lost. But I'm happy now and I am enjoying my day. So have a fantastic one, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Watch out. There's going to be so many more videos coming, guys. A lot of videos are going to be on the channel. The soccer's over. We're going to be grinding out videos and have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next one. Peace.